Cowichan River in my riding is a designated heritage river with significant cultural and historical importance to the Cowichan people. Will the Minister of Fisheries and Oceans commit in this House today to providing the federal funds for raising the Cowichan Weir? Calling on the federal government to fund the raising of the Lake Cowichan Weir so that we may better control the flow rates. Call on this federal government to recognize its jurisdiction in these important areas, recognize that the Cowichan River is an important heritage and index river for British Columbia, and to provide the necessary funding to raise the weir to make sure that drought does not happen anymore. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To provide federal funding to raise the weir at Lake Cowichan, provide adequate federal funding for raising the weir, to immediately provide the federal funds that are necessary for raising the weir, immediately release funds to provide for the raising of the weir on Cowichan River, build up the weir. It's to mitigate the effects of climate change, and I think this is and we really need to update the weir to hold back more support. The residents call upon the Government of Canada to fund the raising of the weir in Lake Cowichan, and I wanted the Minister to specifically commit to making sure that federal funds were there to raise a critical piece of infrastructure, the Cowichan Weir. My riding is home to the iconic Cowichan River, which is a designated heritage river in British Columbia. I've handed a lot of petitions to the government on the status of the Lake Cowichan Weir, which is responsible for managing flow rates into the Cowichan River, to deal with the weir at Lake Cowichan, which controls the flow rates in the Cowichan River. And it's a particularly important piece of infrastructure, especially during July and August when the flow rates are very low, endangering fish and fish habitat. And that raising the Cowichan Weir could provide additional water storage in the lake to deal with the problem. So the government acknowledges that low flows are a danger to fish habitat, but we do not see the explicit protection in this legislation that I think is needed to protect those flow rates. And also, Mr. Speaker, if you have those protections for flow rates, it would oblige the government to live up to its obligations to put those funds in to make sure that we have the infrastructure to control flow rates. To build a new weir so we can hold more lake supply water back in Lake Cowichan. I live in a rainforest, and in March we got 30% of our normal rainfall. Like the lakes and the rivers were at 30% of where they should have been. A hefty dose of infrastructure money to actually build a new weir so we can hold more lake supply back to make sure that the river flows at an adequate rate. Water levels in the Cowichan River are already low for this time of year, and startling new projections predict the river could run dry by July. This past Saturday, I was on the river helping rescue salmon fry who were stranded in pools from the rapidly receding main river. The situation is dire, and my community is calling for leadership. When will this federal government commit to the funding necessary to raise the Cowichan Weir to save this critical watershed and the salmon who depend on it?
Hear, hear. Good question.
Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Fisheries and Oceans.
The single biggest thing we can do for fish in the Cowichan River is to raise the weir. This Liberal government easily found $4.5 billion for a pipeline. So will the Minister of Fisheries and Oceans make the necessary federal infrastructure investments to raise the Cowichan Weir and ensure the survival of this critical salmon-supporting watershed?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Fisheries, Oceans and the Canadian Coast Guard.